All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. We're back week number 2 here with the Dark Horse Racing Area 51 Indy Car Series here at Dover International Speedway. 125 laps will be our race distance tonight. This is going to be a very, very tricky one. 1 mile, very fast track here. So I would suspect we're going to see a lot of close pack racing. Very difficult. I think we're going to see a difficult time passing. And then, of course, as well, I think pit strategy is going to be extremely crucial. Say watching some practice, and yeah, say the starts and restarts I think are going to be especially dicey. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see how it all pans out tonight. But as always, though, Steve, pleasure to have you here with me, man. But yeah, say we're going to be in for an interesting one tonight. I mean, we saw pit strategy and caution timings played a huge role last week. I think that could definitely come into play again here tonight.
I'm extremely curious to see how this goes. I unfortunately didn't get to run any laps, but last time around it was flat out the entire way around this track, no matter what line you took. But the lowest line was the fastest, and so passing was very difficult. You couldn't really get on the outside and do a pass that way.
Yeah, I think we might see some similar situations here tonight as well. So it's going to be, as I say, it's going to be interesting. We'll have to kind of wait and see how it's going to all unfold. Like you said last week, obviously the caution timing really shook that race up, as well as say Nick DeGroot getting the win. But then say some really exciting top 3 finishes with getting Gary Corley, Michael Spell into that second and third positions. Say definitely were 2 happy drivers. I say, unfortunately, we won't have Gary Corley here tonight. I say he's got some computer technical difficulties. So he's working and trying to get those squared away. So unfortunately, I say he had a great start to the season, but I say unfortunately going to lose some spots right off the bat. I'm going to have to miss tonight. But yeah, so I think right now the qualifying, though, I think that's going to be the all-important one for tonight. The fuel window sounds like roughly in the 40 lap range, maybe a little bit more. And based on the 125 laps for tonight, I suspect that's going to be a 2-stop race under green flag conditions for these drivers to make it to the end of this race. But like I said, I think caution is going to play a big role, and I think the other part as well that's going to play a big role in this one, Steve, is going to just be the when you make those pit stops and when you pit, when you don't pit, when we do get those yellows, and how much fuel can you save under green flag conditions? Because like you said, pretty much you can be foot to the floor the whole way around, maybe hold the bottom, but do you say if you're maybe 3rd, 4th in line, 5th in line, somewhere like that, you might be able to run a very lean fuel mixture and save a ton of fuel tonight.
I guess maybe that could happen. I don't know how well the draft is going to help on a track like this for saving fuel. I don't know how much they're going to be able to crack the throttle, even if they're 4th or 5th in line.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the question. That's what we're gonna be learning tonight as things go along. I mean, we were pretty able to tell last week who was saving just based on how they were running. But yeah, you're right, here at Dover, it could be a whole different story. So, give me a lot of storylines for sure to watch. I say one of course is going to be qualifying to see who starts towards the front, and the other side of that window is going to be to see where these drivers come out in relation to those maybe start towards the back. I mean, we saw last week. I mean, the driver missed the start of the race, had to start from the pits, still got up into the podium positions, and right now it looks like we've got about 6 or 7 drivers opting to start from, or not take a qualifying lap, I should say. So right off the bat, it's definitely some drivers opting to be a little extra cautious here tonight, it looks like.
What the heck happened to Matt Wagner?
I don't know. I think he's calling you to find out why his car was so slow during qualifying there, Steve. But no. Yeah, so yeah, you're right, though. Definitely not the lap he was looking for. Maybe aborted his lap, maybe opted. You know what? I'm going to start a little further back. Maybe didn't get the lap time he was looking for on that second lap and may have bailed out of it. So you're right, though. That's going to really put him towards the back and say, with that, we'll pull up our starting grid for tonight's race. And pole position is going to go to that 007 of Henry Bennett. And then next to him is going to be Nick DeGroot there, the 89. Say we've seen these two fight week in and week out with one another. In third, you got Charles Teed, Jim Herrick fourth. In fifth, you got Andrew Wood, Jimmy Drynan, Yari Brupacher, Craig Forsyth, James Ledford, John DeMatteo in 10th. As we work our way further down here, you've got AJ Hobson in 11th, Anders Arhus in 12th. 13th is Michael Spelling of Jeff Heisung, Jack Walls, Jim Brooks, and Matt Wagner. Those are the drivers that put down a lap. And then we mentioned, looks like about 6 drivers opting not to put down laps, including Joseph Morales, Eric Schaus, Don Reedy, Carl Henderson, Josh Laston, and Benjamin Combs. So it looks like 23 drivers are going to be taking part in tonight's race.
And I would like to welcome Eric Schaus back. We missed you last week, Eric.
Yeah, so I haven't been able to have Eric as frequently as we're used to seeing. Yeah, so it's good to have him back out on track. So we'll see what he can do here. So he's been one that we've seen him work his way from the back to the front before. So I don't think this is any what would you call it? Maybe out of his wheelhouse, if you will, to be able to work from the back to the front. But yeah, some good qualifying laps here from some of these guys. I'll say one of those is Jim Herrick. A really good qualifying for him in that 40 car, so it'll be fun to see what Jim's got in store for these guys as well, because I think, and the other thing, of course, is going to be this initial start. Like you said, Steve, I think these guys are going to want to be on the inside line, so I think we're going to see some aggression for drivers trying to see if they can squeeze their way down to the inside line here before too far into this race.
Yeah, it'll be like a start at Talladega or Daytona in the Cup cars, where if you're on the outside, you're somewhat doomed. Just watch the inside line drive away from you and back up until somebody lets you in down on the bottom.
Yeah, exactly right. So we'll see how it's all going to pan out here. Again, 125 laps will be the race distance this evening. Front row is going to be Henry Bennett, Nick DeGroot. We saw those two battle all the way through the season until the last race at Indianapolis, with Henry Bennett able to pull off the championship over Nick. But Nick getting the win last week at Kentucky. So we'll see. Obviously a great start for the season for Nick, but knows there's a lot of racing left to go in this one.
And I note that those two have swapped starting positions this week.
Yeah, so I would not be surprised to see this be a pretty frequent front row between these two very, very talented drivers between the two of them. But like I said, they've got some pretty strong competition behind you. See Craig Forsyth's not too far there in 8th. You've got Andrew Wood in 5th. So that said, though, pace car is in. Now we wait for that green flag to fly for this initial start, and we will be underway again. 125 laps is the race distance. First things first, so these guys got to get through the first lap here unscathed as we go green at Dover. Just like we talked about, Stevie C there, unfortunately, Nick DeGroot goes straight from 2nd to 4th there. At 3rd position, Charles Teed, he jumps straight behind into that 2nd spot. You see Andrew Wood also able to jump 2 spots into 3rd. So that's the benefit of being able to be on the inside line on that initial start. The boast from those guys from now on is we have single file restarts, so they won't have to worry about that. But I say now it's all about kind of keeping your car in the best position to kind of put yourself in the spot to contend in this race, because right now it's very dicey. You saw Craig Forsyth just about touch the wall out of 4th.
And Charles Teed this season definitely seems to have his mojo back, so that's nice to see, sitting here running in 2nd. And he's going for the lead.
Oh, we got contact in the back. It looked like the 40 and the 69 make contact. And it's going to bring out the yellow. Yeah, both those cars getting caught up with that. Looked like, I would say, John DeMatteo and Jim Herrick. And I think my commentator's Curse Strikes again, talking about that good start for Jim, or qualifying spot, I should say. And unfortunately, that contact between them sends him into the pits for a tow. So we're going to go back and see where that contact came out between the two of them. So unfortunately, that was definitely a pretty hard shot for the both of them. Yeah, you already see the contact there coming out of 4. So let's go back a little more here, get a better look at it. All right, let's take a look here. So we're watching the 40 there on the kind of the middle groove. You see on the outside, you've got the 69 car, and it looks like the 69 was maybe trying to make that outside line work there, and the 40 just kind of followed the track up to the top, and unfortunately the contact between the two of them. And then at that point, you can see, unfortunately, the 40 also then gets into the 48 of James Ledford, saying that sends James down onto the apron. But then from there, you already see John DiMatteo stuck onto the outside wall, and then the heavy hit for Jim Herrick there. So actually a couple of cars involved in this one. Saying this is where you see them make the additional contact between the two of each other. But yeah, so say then the other driver will have to keep an eye on those. Going to be that 48 car of James Ledford, because it looked like he got a piece of it. Look at the front wing now. Doesn't look like it's in too bad of shape, so maybe actually got away with it. Not sure. But we'll jump back live because he actually looks like he stayed out in that number 40 machine, or sorry, 48 machine, I should say. While it looks like Jim Brooks on back went ahead and pitted under this yellow. So about 14th on back opted to go ahead and get a little bit of fuel, maybe some tires as well in this first caution.
I thought I saw that right wing, the front right wing, go flying off of James Ledford's car, but it's still there. So probably a graphics glitch, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we see that from time to time, unfortunately, with updated damage models. But it's, I mean, it definitely looked like there was contact, so it makes me a little nervous for James here. Probably also, if you're Craig, if you saw that, you're probably in the same boat there, probably a little nervous as well. So, and then unfortunately, I'd say not the greatest qualifying. Also going a little worse here for Matt Wagner. He, I believe, had a really long pit stop here. And trying to see if he's still in the lead lap or not. I think he is, but he's going to be last of the cars running there in that 20th spot. And then unfortunately, though, for like I said, for Jim Herrick, John DiMatteo, both of those drivers in the pits, you can see the damage to both cars here, waiting for, I believe both had to take a tow. So already just under this caution, already multiple laps down. Again, just the speed of Dover. So that's going to be a tough break for those guys here early on. But we're early on in this one, Steve. Always a chance to recover.
If there's a reason Matt Wagner was slow, it's probably because he put new tires on. I'm going to guess that was probably an accident.
Yeah, he was in the pit stop for a really long time, about 30 seconds. So not sure if maybe any damage or maybe just opted to get all the way to the back on the pit stop. We'll keep an eye and see if the pace is there for him. But looks like it's going to go green this time by. It's going to be Henry Bennett still leading the way. So, like I said, Charles Tito's making move, didn't get an opportunity to do anything with it. But now Henry's got control of this restart here, coming to lap number 8.
All right, while you do that, I'm backing up to see if something happened in Matt's car, because it looked like maybe his front wing got replaced.
Yeah, maybe he was involved in something a little earlier. So right now, you can see Henry Bennett keeps the lead here. He's like we're talking about, the Charles Heath hot on his heels there. Andrew, and he's worked his way up now into that 3rd spot, like we talked about on that first restart. Then Nick DeGroot fall back to 4th. So pretty much that opening lap, these guys all holding a position. You see there is Jim Herrick just now leaving pit road. And then in that 5th spot, you've got Jari Brupacher in that 49 car. So got that big win last season, so obviously hoping to try to build some more from that as well. Let's say the next thing we got to watch for, Steve, we talked about how potentially crucial the pit stop strategy could be here. We have those drivers from 14th on back that went ahead and pitted, starting with Jim Brooks in the 51 machine. So they can go probably about 5-6 laps longer on fuel in those leaders. We'll see, does that maybe play a role in the outcome of this race tonight?
Very good point, because either it means they can make it on one less pit stop, or it means that on their final pit stop they won't need as much gas and they'll be able to get out of the pits quicker than these other guys.
Yeah, right now we've got a gaggle of cars here. Oh, Jimmy Drennan almost catches the point of Larry Brupacher. You also saw there James Ledford had to make evasive action to avoid contact. So Craig Forsyth was able to get around James there. So they've moved now into that 7th position. But it's kind of like we talked about, Steve. It is very busy very quickly here already at Dover. And I mean, I think that's just what you're going to see all race long. You can try to save fuel, save tires, and do what you can, but the thing is that puts you under attack from those guys around you. So it's kind of that risk versus reward as you see Jari kind of running the middle groove, but opening up that top line that allows the 99 here to be driving. He's going to take a look down low in 1 and 2 again. So right now you can try to put some clean air on the nose of that car, but it opens you up for attack.
Yep. And I noticed that John DiMatteo he had to go back in the pits for something. I'm going to guess that it probably was a speeding penalty. He's now 7 laps down, and Jim Herrick, who was in that wreck, is 4 laps down. So if you have to call for a tow at this track, it is really deadly.
Yeah, that's going to be a really tough pill to swallow for anybody. And it also brings in the point of the green flag pit stop potential. I mean, obviously a tow's going to take a lot longer, but when you think about the time in the pits, out of the pits, and just driving down pit lane on their pit speed limiter while these guys are going probably about 210, I would guess. I mean, these guys are going 18-second laps here under green. So it's just, I think it's minimum 2 laps down under green flag pit stop. And that's why I said that's where I'm really thinking about this potential pit strategy. Actually, see, Anders Arhu's in the wall off of 2. He gets hit from behind. More cars involved here. Caution comes back out. Unfortunately, Michael Spell got a piece of it there. But yeah, I saw Anders Arhus. He caught the wall. Not sure who else was involved in that. I think it was the 18 of Jeff Heisong. I thought I saw the chrome and black car. He's going to probably have to take a tow as well. So that puts us back under yellow here on lap number 18. Let's go back. Let's take a look where that all happened. So yeah, unfortunately,
I think it was net code.
hopefully not, but yeah, I wouldn't put it past it. You can already see looks like he's already in the wall here. Yeah, when the caution comes out. So let me go back. Let's find Anders here. So you see, we're watching Anders Arhus in that 10 car running the top side here. And then you can see close between the two of them. Oh yeah, really bad net code. You're right, Steve. They were feet apart, but still made contact. And unfortunately, just nothing that Jeff Heisong could do, just right into the back of that 10 car. And then from there, you see just everybody having to try to react quick enough. You see Jack Walls just sneak on by. Unfortunately, Michael Spell not as lucky. So you're going to see him get a pretty good shot there from the right front. And then Eric Schaus actually may have caught a piece of that as well. I'll have to take a look at his car in that 72 machine. So we'll jump back to full speed here and take a look. May have gotten away with it, but we'll jump back live here, Steve, because we've got pit stops going. And right now, most of the field here opted to pit. However, very lonely Andrew Wood stays out.
And that is a lonely feeling.
And the surprising part to me too, Steve, is that even the drivers that pitted under that first caution, they all came in as well. And I'm looking at the pit stop times. There's been no strategy. Everybody's been taking 4 tires and fuel. There's no fuel-only stops. And so we actually have a handful of drivers still getting service on pit road. I see a lot of long pit stops. So I think there were multiple drivers with some damage. I see Eric Schaus just now coming out. He had about a 40-second pit stop under yellow. The 09 of Josh Laston, 37 seconds, 35 seconds for Jim Brooks. So to me, that says there's a lot of drivers that had damage from that incident who opted to try to get this damage repaired manually instead of going for that fast repair approach. So it's going to definitely be a challenging. You always want to save that fast repair, but you always have to be careful because sometimes the car just does not perform after that.
And it's tough to avoid accidents on this track when somebody ahead of you wrecks, especially if it's multiple cars. Because first of all, you don't have a good line of sight coming through the turn. So you may not see what's happening ahead of you on the straightaway. And then the second thing is with walls on either side of the track, it tends to throw cars down the track. And then if you hit the inside wall, it throws you back up the track. So it's a lot different than some of the other tracks.
Yeah, exactly right. And also didn't mention Jim Herrick got one of those 4 laps back, so now back to 3 laps down in the 40 machine. So like I said, with him being able to kind of cycle out in front of those guys, puts himself in a decent position here. Say potential competitors for him actually now as they're starting to roll off pit road right now. You see Jeff Heisong just now leaving the pits. Anders Arhus right there behind him. They're going to beat the pace car out too. That's going to be a big gain for them. I believe actually that's going to put them now 2 laps down instead of the 3 down like Jim Herrick. So that lucky dog battle now might be between this 18 and the 18 and the 10 cars here.
Yeah, that's what I'm showing on my scoring right now. We'll see if it updates to something different, but for the moment, they're both 2 laps down.
And also impressively, Michael Spell caught up in that incident. I think he was able to get quickly to the pits and get that fast repair done. He actually was able to stay on the lead lap in the 88 car. So you see actually taking a splash of fuel there under this as we're 1 to go here. getting just that little bit extra ounce of fuel. So, but now again, the pit strategy though, Steve, we said probably about 40 laps of fuel they could go. We're on lap 21 here. Obviously, had the 2 yellows here pretty early, but you've got Andrew Wood. He's yet to pit on this race, so I would suspect he can go maybe another 25, let's say 30 laps if we stretch it maybe to about lap 50. But then he's going to have to wait probably about 15 plus laps where everybody else will have to eventually pit. That'll be a very tough time if he doesn't get a timely caution.
Yeah, definitely.
And you see they are back down and away. It's going to be Andrew Wood with a nice little margin here over Henry Bennett as we get back to green here. Lap number 22 of 125, so still just over 100 left to go in this one. So you see right away Charles Teed already kind of peeking there, and Henry Bennett a little bit, like you said. Seems like he's definitely been a lot racier already this season, and definitely looking like he wants to play a part in this one tonight as well.
So right now we know that everybody in this field, except for maybe Andrew Wood, can make it on 2 more stops.
I feel pretty confident that Andrew probably still can as well. It's just like I said, I think the danger for Andrew is just more of the fact that he's going to have, if they stay green, they're going to have a really long window, at least in IndyCar terms here, of that maybe 15 or so green flag laps where the rest of the field won't have to pit after he does. So, and like we talked about, that could have him sitting 2 or more laps down for possibly 15 laps, and hoping at that point that there is no yellow to trap him multiple laps down.
Yep.
So the problem right now, though, is he's got a traffic jam behind him. Charles Teed trying to hug that inside line as tight as he can. We've got the 89 of Nick DeGroot working the outside this time, Steve. I say we haven't seen that very often. I don't know if we'll be able to see that move for the lead. However, though, Nick DeGroot able to keep that 50 car pinned to the inside and work himself to the outside and grab that 3rd spot. As soon as I say that, though, here comes Charles Teed trying to work the inside back again out of 4.
I'll tell you what, I think that worked. Yeah, the top 3 cars were all nose to tail. And I'm sure there's a little bit of accordion going on there. And I think that slowed down the 3rd place car enough that Nick DeGroot was able to get that run on the outside.
Yeah, so and I'll hop on with Craig Forsyth, who we see a little bobble there entering turn 1. So he's got a great view of all this action going on. He's got Jimmy Drynan in front of him there in that 5th spot. But I think Craig right now, I think he's playing the long game. I believe Craig actually winner of the race here last season, if I'm not mistaken. So we actually were talking with some of the drivers before the race during practice, and I said, Craig's like, did I win that race last season? And so we were giving him a hard time that he can't even keep track of all his race wins in that 27 machine. So I say, but if I'm not mistaken, I say I think Craig did win that race because he was working the field numbers very aggressively in that car. That's really close.
Whoa, boy!
Craig and Jimmy, we talked about net code potentials. That was a net code incident waiting to happen, but luckily did not occur there. But that was a very risky move there, but luckily it paid off for Craig. However, for Jimmy Drynan, it really cost him a lot of momentum, but looks like he'll hold on to that 6th spot for the moment. You saw Yari Brubacher take a peek there.
And I just want to say I was apparently wrong about people being able to pass on the outside. So I would have to guess that if you're stuck on the inside of someone, that possibly you're getting
Craig.
I saw that. He's glanced off the wall.
That's a pretty big shot. I don't think that car's going to handle anymore. So he's going to have to try to limp this thing. I don't know if he's going to try to get to the pits, but the problem is he's going to have just a horde of cars here trying to get around him. So this is probably one of the toughest spots you're going to be in that 27 car here. Actually, right behind him, you see another contact. I think that was Josh Laston, or not. I'm sorry, not Josh Laston. Carl Henderson, I think, got a piece of it. We got another car in the water, Schaus as well, the 72 here. I said he's stuck up against the wall. He's going to come to stop. Actually, takes a quick tow here, I think, so as to prevent a caution from coming out. So that's going to be a heartbreaking for Eric here. Going to put him down multiple laps as we've talked about. So I'm going to jump back to Craig because he's actually stayed out here. I want to say I saw some other cars make wall contact there. I say, I'm trying to see who it was. Yeah, here comes Craig. He's going to hit pit road with that damaged car. I think he decided he's got to take that fast repair now. So it's also a huge disappointment for Craig. I think Carl Henderson, yeah, here comes Carl following in along in the 42 car. Same similar contact there. So that's going to put both these drivers multiple laps down. But yeah, you're right though, Steve. While we're talking about all that, not being able to make passes and all, Nick DeGroot, he's found his way to the point.
So I'm thinking maybe these cars are starting to push on the long run.
It does look like they're a little bit of a challenge to drive. I think you're spot on there, Steve. So, and especially if we always talk about how bad dirty air is. So, I think you're right. I think these cars getting a little sketchy as the run goes on. As right now you got Jimmy Drennan and Charles Teed here side by side for the 4th position. It looks like Jimmy's going to grab that spot out of turn number 2. But we've had a decent stretch of green flag racing here. So again, we have to keep an eye on Andrew Wood and what his field numbers look like. But I say right now holding pretty steady. Right now one of the closer battles on track here. I say it's actually Yari Brewpark right behind this battle we were just talking about. I say Yari trying to work over Charles Teed. Saw Charles a little bobble there out of turn number 4. 2. Yeah, that one.
They look the same, don't they?
Well, that and when you got 18-second laps, I can't keep up, man. It's tough to follow these along. I'm going to jump a little further back. So I see here you got James Ledford. I think Josh Laston just got around him there to get himself into the top 10. And you see Jim Brooks, I think, trying to now figure out where does he need to position his car, because you've got the 69 of John DeMatteo multiple laps down, unfortunately. We know he's got a lot of pace in that car, though. I think Jim's trying to find a way to get around James Ledford. Then right behind him, you got Joseph Morales there in the 60 as well. Looks like Joseph's going to clear the 69. And then, a little further back, you've got Don Reedy and Michael Stoll. As I said, a big contact in the back. I think that was the 42 of Carl Henderson. Oh, yeah, that car is destroyed here. And it looks like Michael Spell as well. That's going to bring the caution out as the leaders are just approaching this group of cars here. Unfortunately, that's going to put us back under yellow. And unfortunately, I think also most likely for Paul, or for Carl and for Michael, that's probably it for their races tonight. So I'm going to try to see if we can find out what happened there, because those are 2 very big hits. So we're going to take a look at Carl. Oh, Carl's actually just leaving pit road here, Steve. And I don't know if I mentioned, this is a very treacherous pit road. And I'm wondering, maybe just got a little too aggressive on the throttle on the pit exit. I've seen it happen before. I've done it myself. As you watch him build up speed here. And I have a feeling we're going to see the car just kind of step out on the back of him as he tries to build the speed here.
Actually, I'm seeing something different. It happened a little later than that.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'm too far forward here. So let's go ahead and as the leaders are pitting right now while we watch this, looks like the whole field actually hitting the pits. So let's say that we'll kind of speed up here and try to see if we can find exactly where it happened here.
It's lap 37 in turns 1 and 2.
So I'm just going to run it through here. So
it looks like Carl's trying to make the pass on Michael Spell on the outside. I assume Carl probably has fresher tires at this point.
Oh, yeah, he's in a tough spot here because, I think it's Don Reedy to the outside. And, yeah, just a little bit of contact between the 2 of them. And then, yeah, there goes the 42 up into the outside wall. There's a little bit of a kind of a slide up against on the safer barrier. Then you see Michael Spell, a heavy hit too. Close quarters for Craig Forsyth just to sneak on by that. But yeah, unfortunately, the 42 and the 88 cars, though, I think that's most likely the end of their races here tonight, because I think they had both used the faster pairs already. So I think caution, though, we talked about that. Blessing for Andrew Wood. That puts him now back on sequence with everybody else here. He did pit there. Drivers that did not pit are going to be some drivers that are going to try to get some laps back, like we talked about, Steve. Let's see. First one I see is Anders Arhus in the 10. And then I see the 40 of Jim Herrick and the 27 of Craig Forsyth. So Simon, we're going to kind of look at the timing and scoring over here on the left side. As I believe this is going to put a few drivers. Yeah, so it's going to put Anders and Craig back to just 1 lap down, put Jim Herrick to 2 down. So we're going to have 3 drivers battling for that lucky dog position on this restart. So yeah, so I think that's about the best you could have hoped for there if you're like a Craig Forsyth who had to make that pit stop with that damage repair.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, Steve, I think this puts them now in that window like we talked about as well here. We talked about maybe the 40 or so laps under green flag racing. So I think at this point now, this gets him right to the edge of one more stop to make it to the end of this race. To maybe try to get to that lap 85, let's say, mark or so. So I think this falls right in a very questionable spot in the race. Again, this is all based on this thing going green, but this could get very dicey on the fuel mileage again as well.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the way it's been so far, I'm not optimistic about this thing staying green.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's definitely a tough one to drive for sure. I mean, like you said last season, I mean, it almost felt like these guys were running slot cars, just lined up on the inside line, able to do anything and everything they wanted. It looks like definitely a much more difficult setup to drive tonight. Like you said, once the tires wore especially as well, it looks like it's a different animal tonight. So, yes, unfortunately, so we've seen a few drivers drop back from that. So like I said, it looks like we've already lost a few, like Eric Schaus is retired from the race. We mentioned John DeMatteo is 10 laps down as things run. So we've seen him have a lot of speed these races. Unfortunately, just early incidents really have kind of set him back. But I say it looks like we still have about, I'd say, 18 cars in the running here tonight. But I think Michael Spell, Carl Henderson, I think unfortunately their night's most likely done as well. But I believe still 14, if I'm not mistaken, left on the lead lap here.
And that's pretty rough for Michael Spell after
such a good run last week. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's Dover, man. This track is brutal, and I can only imagine how difficult it is with these Indy cars as well. So, with that though, you see the pace car just peeled off here. Everybody running up against the wall here. We'll see when does Nick DeGroot go. He goes right there out of turn number 4. I think it's the safest place to go on the bank and not have to worry about getting well on the flat. He gets a great start here going back to turn number 1, starting lap 46. Hobson, Josh Laston, and the 83 of Jack Waltz all right on top of each other here. This is right inside the top 10 right now. Actually, I'm going to jump a little further back to the front here because it looks like he's able to get around Henry there for that 3rd position. And also we talked about the poor qualifying attempt, but Matt Wagner, he's now up into that 6th position in that number 11 car. As you can see up on the top, it looks like we're back out on track here. I'd say this is a really tough spot to be in as well. You want to kind of make laps, but you also have to try to stay out of the way of the leader, so he's going to be in a really tough situation here. So especially, like I said, at a track as fast as it is here at Dover.
And I wonder what Matt did to get up there. I wonder if that's just from attrition ahead of him, or if he didn't take tires on one of the stops.
That's a good question. All the pit stops look like they're about the 7-8 second bracket. So yeah, definitely this stop he did take tires. So I think maybe just he's been working his tires well, working his way through the field. But look at Nick DeGroot, Andrew Wood. Nick is trying very hard to work over our race leader in that 64 of Andrew Wood. You see Andrew kind of hugging I'd say more not hugging the inside, but maybe the middle to make it a little more difficult to dive to the inside here. But every so often we'll see Nick kind of take a little peek. But now you see he's kind of rolled off a little bit right now. And again, I still think about that fuel mileage. Like I said, based on what we've seen so far, it doesn't seem likely. But I mean, we've also seen caution-free races here at Dover as well, so you never know what the strategy is going to unfold here. As you can see, Nick gets a great run there out of 4, but tucks back in. But this is where you have to watch that according effect, Steve. You can see just from the back of that 64 car, you kind of see the ebb and flow between the 89, the 99, the 007. I mean, you have to really be on your toes not to basically, honestly, just run into the back of that car in front of you.
Yeah, and then when you let off, you have to worry about is the car behind you going to run into you, or are they going to try and force a pass?
Yeah, so far it looks like the front group being very patient. I mean, what's really happened too is you've got now the top 10 pretty much all in line here. You've got Jim Brooks just about to tag onto the back. I'm not sure what's happened to Yari Brewparker. He's dropped a lot of positions here on this restart. Not sure if maybe he missed some contact or something like that for Yari. Hopefully not. The case, maybe just opting to roll out of it here. He says, seeing what's been going on with this kind of the attrition, like you said, Steve. But I think right now, kind of looks like he might just be trying to play it safe out in this 49. I think Jimmy Dryden had an issue, Steve. Just missed it.
Yeah, I definitely missed that. I was watching Andrew Wood and Nick DeGroot swapped the lead back and
We're going to
forth
go
on that
back
lap.
and take a look here at Jimmy. Oh, he gets extremely loose out of turn number 4. Somehow saves that car, but then makes the very, very smart decision. He actually rolls out of it, gets to the apron, didn't want to risk anything, and he goes ahead and drops down there. But actually looks like he's on pit road now, unfortunately. So not what he was looking for in that 99 car. Brings Jim Herrick along with him as well. But yeah, so right now, with that happening, that's really spread out the field. So I think while we're watching that, other stuff has been going on, because now look where Henry Bennett is. So you see Jack Wallace now up into that 4th position. I said while we were looking at that, we had more stuff going on up front, as you see now Henry Bennett fighting with Matt Wagner now for the 6th position.
Yeah, and it's really allowed the top 2 cars to get away from everybody else.
Yeah, so that's not what you want to do. I know how well Andrew Wood, Nick DeGroot said those two are very talented drivers, and they work very well with one another also. But I think, like I said, so now it's going to be all about lap times as we talk about week in and week out. So for Charles Teed, I mean, he's got a little bit of clean air for once on his nose. He'll be able to try to take advantage of this, I would think. As I said, trying to keep an eye on lap times as well, of course. Which right now, again, running kind of high 18-second bracket. Looks like about 1870s for the leaders. 18.8 for Charles at last time by, so just about a 10th off. But yeah, definitely a lot going on. As I say, it looks like Henry, I think something may have happened to that car. Maybe it had some contact with the car, because as you can see, a lot of these drivers are really kind of falling back off the paces. You know, Jim Brooks working his way up. It looks like going to work around Henry here without much trouble. So yeah, I think Henry must have some damage to that side of the car, and just trying to limp this thing along the way for hope for a yellow to be able to get that fast repair undertaken.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that too. I mean, the only other thing that could be going on is he's saving fuel, but it doesn't seem likely.
I think he's already a full straightaway off the leaders at this point. Like you said, Steve, I mean, they have just completely checked out right now. You got Andrew Wood, Nick DeGroot here within about a half a second of each other, but then Charles Teed, he's about almost 3 seconds off these top 2 right now. Again, we don't know what kind of strategies are being played right now in the fuel game. We don't know, maybe Andrew's running full rich, what Nick's doing, what Charles is doing. It's like, because again, they have the 5 mixtures under green flag conditions they can use, from 1 to full rich to 5 to basically the most lean you can run for green flag racing. Of course, there's a caution mixture, which don't want to run that under green flag conditions here, but yeah, so it's definitely really spread this field out now. Like I said, though, with now Charles Teed in 3rd, and I say now who's got pressure though, like I said, from Jack Walls and Matt Wagner there. And yeah, say right now, like I said, Henry Bennett's fallen back to about 10th, 11th spot now under pressure from Yari Brupacher.
Yeah, basically just everybody's getting by him. And that's a tough position to be in, because you know that you need to pit to fix your car, but you can't do that because you're going to go 2 or 3 laps down. And so you just kind of stay out there and try and limp around and do the best you can and hope a caution comes out, so you don't lose any laps repairing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen both ends of the spectrum. We saw Craig Forsyth, he pitted pretty quickly after his damage. So now we're seeing Henry kind of try to stretch as far as he can. So you don't know if and when these cautions are going to fall, like you said. So. And the only other thing I'd think of, I didn't see any contact between Henry and the 99 and Jimmy Drinan when that all kicked off, with Jimmy getting loose. But maybe there's a little bit of contact when that happened that maybe I missed, and maybe that's where the damage came from for the 007 car as well. So we'll keep an eye on things, but I say right now we're going to just kind of keep an eye on the battles on track right now, as it's still Andrew Wood, Nick DeGroot by, again, about 3/4 tenths of a second, kind of bounces back and forth between the 2 of them. Like I said, though, they've built over a 3-second lead over Charles Teed there in 3rd. As we're on lap number 69 of 125. They last pit on 42, Steve, so they can probably go another, I feel like I said, I think 80 or so, somewhere in the 80s is going to be the pit stop. Again, when you're running 18-second laps, that's going to come up very quickly. So again, you just have to wonder how aggressive some of these drivers are maybe running, and that might be where the pace and speed is. But right now, though, so you can see Charles Teed, though, he's going to have a lot of pressure here shortly from the 83, from the 11, and then even not too far in the distant future in that 4 car.
And Michael Spell has come back up on the tracks.
Out to see how that 88 car handles after a very long repairs under his car. I say they usually don't can't get the suspension completely fixed in those, so I say he's going to probably have a little bit of a handful. So I say he'll have to be careful trying to get that thing kind of dialed in right now. But I say we're still watching this battle here from third on back. You see Matt Wagner trying to find a way to get around that number 83 car, working the top side here. I think you see here, Steve, is kind of running trying to work the momentum, kind of that top to bottom. And actually, I want you to listen to this 11 car. Listen on the exit of 2 and on the exit of 4. This car actually, you almost hear the revs jump. Every so often you just hear the revs kind of spike just a little bit. And that's again, that's you're losing traction on the exit turns. You're basically bouncing out of the track. As we're watching now, we saw Matt get around the 83. Now he's working around the 50. So Matt Wagner, two great laps there, puts himself now into that third spot. As Jack Walls gets a little loose, trying to work over Charles Teed. Like I said, I think Charles Teed, I think he's got a strategy in mind, and I think he is sticking with it right now, wanting to make sure he can make it to the end on one more stop. These guys, again, maybe running a little richer, a little more aggressive. Let's say that the gap up front still holding pretty similar here, about that 0.4 of a second margin or so. I say right now on the Lucky Dog battle right now, Craig Forsyth, he's the first car one down, but only about half a second back is that 18 of Jeff Highsong. So this is also that battle as well. And it's worth noting, though, Jeff can go about 8 laps longer than Craig here under green flag conditions, Steve. Craig pitting at 34, Jeff pitting at 42.
And I was just checking to see, I mean, Matt Wagner looks like he's flying right now. I was wondering if he was going faster than our 2 leaders, but he's not. So I don't know if they're getting the benefit of the draft or if Matt's just, run his tires ragged, going as fast as he is.
Yeah, I mean, he did have to pass a lot of cars. You see now A.J. Hobson working around Charles Teed there. That's going to put A.J. up into that 5th position in his number 4 car. You see now Jim Brooks looking as well. So I think, like I said, I think for Charles here, I think he's working a strategy and doesn't want to get off of it right now. So the downside, of course, is he's lost a lot of time. Like you said, these leaders, they have checked out, Steve. They got over 6 seconds on Matt Wagner right now. But again, though, now it's going to be all about the pit strategy and when they have to make their pit stops. Maybe they're just running some really great pace in those cars. But say right now, though, we're on lap number 80. And I think that pit window is going to be opening very soon. But the question will be, again, can they make it to the end? Because right now we're at 46 to go, 45 here. And then pitting at 42, it being lap number 81. Now that's going to be 39 laps that they've run under green flag conditions. So they need to, they need to go probably another, I'd say, 3-4 more laps. But then again, very treacherous pit road here at Dover.
One of the things I noticed with Charles Teed last week is he just didn't have the longevity that some of these other guys had. He burned through his tires early. And if you remember at the end of the race, he wasn't able to keep up and he lost a bunch of spots. So it looks like he's kind of struggling with that here tonight as well.
Yeah, as you see, it looks like, I think that's A.J. Hobson trying to work around. Craig Forsyth, he's hit pit road. So I saw it's Jeff Highsong, I'm sorry. Trying to work around him. It was A.J. Hobson that got by him earlier. This is Josh Laston trying to get around Charles for that 6th position. I say for Josh, I think this is one of his first couple of races running these IR18 cars, and to do what he's doing right now at Dover is pretty mediocre, Steve. I want to say he's done a great job, but he's doing all right in that 09 car. So, but yeah, I say right now, Charles challenging with Charles, and it looks like Charles, he's not saving fuel, Steve. He's going to hit pit road now in that 50 car. Again, very difficult pit road to hit. Looks like he's done a good job of getting slowed down, doesn't slide back up on track. So now we'll keep an eye on Andrew Wood and Nick DeGroot. Because actually, here comes Nick DeGroot. He's going to go for the undercut, Steve. Looks like a good pit entry. Maybe a little hot. He'll have to be careful there. Hopefully he gets away with it. That's going to leave Andrew Wood out here at 40 to go. So I think right now these guys are all in their window here to make it to the end. The pit road is getting very busy now.
Yeah, I think definitely. And I have to give a shout out to Josh Laston, fellow broadcaster. Had a horrendously bad race last week. So to see him doing as well as he is tonight, fantastic.
Well, he's doing all right, Steve. We don't want to do the. I don't know if the commentator's curse is just me or if you might throw into it as well. But however, though, look at Matt Wagner. As I said, here comes Matt. He got a lap lead. Now he's going to duck into the pits. That leaves just 2 cars left to pit here, Steven. Yes, here comes one of them, James Ledford in the 48. Looks like he's hitting pit road. And then the next is going to be Don Reedy, but Don's going to go a little further in that 00 car. And again, we talked about if time of caution just at the right time, this could put Don in a very, very good spot and put everybody else in a very tough position here.
You know, it's so funny to watch these cars on pit road from the blimp view. The speed limit's like 35 miles an hour. It looks like they're just creeping along.
Oh, I'm sure this is painful for the drivers as well. You see Matt Wagner now just rolling out of the pits. But so what we need to talk about, though, that short pit, or the undercut, I should say, for Nick DeGroot, it has paid extreme dividends. I'm not sure, maybe possible mistake for Andrew Wood, I'm not sure, but he has got seconds on Andrew Wood, and actually it looks like, I believe Matt Wagner is going to possibly cycle out in front of Andrew as well, actually side by side with him as they come out of turn number 2. So it looks like it's going to be Nick DeGroot over Andrew Wood. Then Matt Wagner almost gets connected there with the 27 to Craig Forsyth there. Close call between those two. But man, Nick DeGroot, he is sitting pretty right now, Steve. He has got a 5-second lead after that pit stop cycle.
Wow, that's humongous. I mean, if this stays green, I don't think there's any way that can be made up.
Yeah, so this is where Nick is saying, all right, everybody play nice here. So the problem is, though, racing's not over, because look at this battle right here, Steve. You've got Josh Laston, you've got Charles Teed, you've got AJ Hobson's right there, Joseph Morales is in this battle as well. So it was very busy there out of the 4. So it's kind of spread out just a little bit here, but that was a very close proximity racing there right now, as Josh Laston and Joseph Morales, they're fighting here for the 7th position right now between the 2 of them. And then we talked about Henry Bennett a little earlier. He did limp that thing to the pit, Steve, and he's been able to get back out. He's in 6th position now, making up for some lost time with that potential damage we saw earlier on in the race.
Yeah, thankfully he was able to stay on the lead lap and make that pit stop and get his car fixed, because he's definitely on the move now.
Yeah, right now it's got a great battle between AJ Hobson and Charles Teed, and again just in front as well, Josh Laston, Joseph Morales. So they've got 2 really good battles here for 7th and 8th, and then 9th and 10th right now. Like I said, right now Charles has it, AJ has it, wants it, and then Joseph has it, Josh wants it. So, but just they haven't found a way to be able to get around those guys as of yet. Up front, not a lot has changed. Jack Walls is about half a second off of Jim Brooks. That would be a battle for 4th and 5th. But right now, I'd say these are definitely the closest battles on track for position right now with these 2. And then with AJ and Charles. And actually, Yari Grupacher in the 49 car, he's creeping into the mix as well. In 11th, of course, wants to try to crack himself into the top 10 as well.
It looks like AJ Hobson is making the pass on Charles T.
So he just was able to clear him out. So I was a little nervous if he's going to be able to complete the pass and kind of get the power back down, but he does. So yeah, so now move AJ up into the 9th position. So now he'll chase after that battle for 7th between Josh and Joseph. Like I said, right now Joseph still has it. Josh is trying to find a way to get around, just hasn't been able to get it yet. But actually, we're going to jump up front, or a little further up, because now Henry Bennett's actually caught Jack Walls here. So now Henry trying to recover and get himself back into the top 5.
So Henry is just flying.
Yeah, so I'm trying to look at lap times, and yeah, Henry's definitely been on a mission. He's been one of the quickest cars these last handful of laps. And you know, when things don't go your way, it kind of helps you turn the wick up a little bit, if you will. So Henry doesn't need extra incentive to go fast, but it's definitely going in his favor right now to kind of use that to his advantage. But the thing is, I mean, these are not easy cars to get around. I mean, we know how quick Jack can be when he gets himself in the right position. And then also on the pit strategy, pretty much all of these guys are all within a lap or 2 of each other of when they pit. Nobody wanted to risk that short pit strategy with obvious reasons. So right now, these guys holding pretty stationary right now. And did he mention that Lucky Dog battle? It's actually now fallen to James Ledford, as I believe leaders have just gotten around him a few laps ago. So right now, the 48 car, actually the first car won down. So unfortunately for Craig Forsyth, Jeff Hysong, that battle's not going the way they want it to. But we're going to jump back here, because actually while this has been going on, Jack's actually closing on Jin as well. So I say we're about to have a 3-car battle here for that 4th, 5th, and 6th spot.
And that'll probably be our best battle on the track right now. Josh Lasson got around Joseph Morales, so
oh, you're right.
maybe he can come up and join those guys too.
Yeah, I moved Josh. You're right. Moved Josh up into that 7th position. As actually, oh, Charles T back in the pits here, Steve. That's not a scheduled stop for that 50 car. May have made some contact with the outside wall, possibly. Unfortunately there for him, that's not what you want to see coming to the end of the race there. So tough break for Charles there. That's going to drop him way down the running order, already down to 15th spot.
Yes, and you called it perfectly. He hit the wall coming off of, looks like turn 4. Yep, turn 4.
And we are getting very busy here for that 4th spot. You see the 83 Jack Walsh trying to get around Jim Brooks. Also trying to get around is Henry Bennett. So we've got a 3-car battle here for that 4th spot. So we'll see how they're able to go. Again, you can see the inside line. It's obviously got the speed, but then you lose the grip on the exit. And so that's what Jim's able to do. Is he's able to hold his momentum on that top side. I think Jack's going to get the job done here out of 2, and he does. And you see Charles T going to come out right in front of those guys. Also, Henry Bennett going to get around Jim. So Jim's going to drop to the 6th position there. And now Henry's going to set his sights back on the 83 of Jack Walls. And yeah, AJ, you were spot on, man. Nick, I would say whatever that pit stop happened between himself and Andrew, I was saying, well, I'll see if I can pull up some info, see if we can see maybe if it was, say, I'd love to be able to get the info like the in lap, the out lap, and the tolls and all that. I'll see if we can at least look at the pit lane time to maybe compare there. But yeah, right now, like I said, he's just checked out. He's got a 4-second lead over Andrew Wood. Matt Wagner is another about 4 seconds back from Andrew. So right now, this is, as you can see, this is by far the closest battle on track. Henry trying to find any way to get around that 83 of Jack Walls.
Andrew has chopped off 4/10 of a second. I mean, I don't think he can catch him by the end of the race, but still, that's running.
Yeah, those are some very quick laps. Here you see Henry gets a great run out of turn number 4. He's going to take a look entering turn 1. You see he had to roll out of it just a little bit here, and that's going to allow Jack to hold that spot, keeps the momentum on the edge. You see a couple of drivers hitting pit road here. I say that's actually going to help. I think that helps Jack out, keeps him clean air in the nose of the 83 car. So right now again, Henry's got to try to regroup and sends it in again into turn 1. This time a little closer here. And continue to power out. It's going to be tight off of turn number 2.
It's a good battle going on here right now.
Yeah, say basically a full lap or so now side by side. Now it looks like Henry just going to clear Jack. That's going to put Henry now back up into that 4th spot. Again, a great recovery for Henry after having, we believe, some damage a little earlier. You see Jim, he hasn't really dropped off of these guys. I mean, he's still right there as well. But I'm going to try to see if I can pull in the pit lane time here. We'll look at Nick DeGroot and Andrew Wood. And yeah, it's got to have been the in-lap and the out-laps, I feel like, Steve, because if you look at the pit lane time, it was 45 seconds for Nick, 44.5 for Andrew Wood. So the time was not gained on pit lane. So at that point, you got to go with the most likely the in and out laps for those guys. So, but right now, let's say we're already down to 13 to go. Like I said, these laps click off very quickly here. We got a good battle here. Gary Greenhopper, he has chased down James Ledford, trying to get himself back into the top 10. As you see, actually the 4-car AJ Hobson, I think he may have had a mistake because now he's heading into pit road right now. And I think AJ was ahead of these guys, so unfortunately a mistake for the 4-car, sending him to pit road here, coming to 12 to go.
That's a shame because he was having a great run.
Yeah, he's also having a great race tonight. So I say everything's pretty spread out here. Say for Nick DeGroot, saying right now for him it's just managing traffic, and like I said, I think that also might be a little bit of where those time drops are happening. You know, Nick's going to be trying to play it safe as he can, getting around these guys. He's just got around the 69 there of John DiMatteo, and a hats off to John. I mean, he stuck it out. Didn't have the start of the race that he wanted by any means. It's easy just to get frustrated and just kind of bail on it, but he is going to run the laps here tonight. So I say definitely hats off to that 69 car to stick with it here tonight. You see just in front of him, I believe that is Joseph Morales, who is right now the last car on the lead lap in that 8th position here. And so that's the thing is you want to hold on to that spot if you can. And I think that's where that slows down that 83 car just a little bit. And of course, he's got a 10 car coming out with fresh tires. He's going to try to get a lap back there. And you see Andrzar who's going to grab one of those laps back. As they continue to collect down, Steve, it's now 8 to go here. As they're looking at Jim Brooks, Jack Walls, it's holding at about 0.6 of a second between the two of them. However, Henry Bennett, he's been making great time. I don't think he has... Oh, actually, caution out here. Got a couple cars in the wall. I think Matt Wagner, one of them. It is Matt Wagner. He was in 3rd position there. I'm not sure. I think it may have been Don Reedy, possibly, that he had contact with in the 00. And this might make for a very short restart here, and this could be a very interesting strategy call, Steve. Do you stay out or do you pit and get some tires here?
I would pit, and there's 8 cars on the lead lap. I mean, if I'm probably one of the top 3 cars, I'm not pitting, but anybody beyond that, I'm definitely pitting.
So we'll try to take a look, see what happens. You see Matt Wagner and Don Reedy. Oh, they kind of just meet in the middle there. So you saw Matt moving up a little bit. Don kind of looked like he kind of peaked down a bit as well. Nothing intentional, unfortunately. I think just a miscommunication, a little bit of a mistake between the two of them. And then, yeah, really, really tough hits for both of those drivers. So, Matt's going to be upset about it being in the 3rd position when that all happened. As you see, the drivers trying to sneak behind there. And it looks like it's just going to be the two of them caught up in this one, luckily. You see Henry Bennett having to make some evasive action to get around that. So we'll jump back live here, though, Steve, because I think, like you said, I think most drivers opting not to pit here under this caution. It looks like Josh Laston's going to be one of the few to do so here. So it'll be fun to see if he can make any late moves here in that 09 car to try to jump himself up a few more spots. But we'll see where he cycles out. I think that's a great call, though, for Josh. I believe he was the last car on the lead lap there when that caution came out. So, I mean, there's nothing to lose, in my opinion.
Agree. That's exactly what I would say. And looking at that wreck, I don't know what Don was doing. He crossed the start-finish line and then just started moving down off the wall. And I'm sure that Matt was not expecting that. There was some net code between the two of them, so you can partially blame it on net code, but I mean, if you're Matt Wagner, you're halfway down the track, you're not expecting the car on the outside to be there if you come up a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right on that. Alan said he's definitely going to probably be a very upset driver there. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'd say it's going to put Matt in a really tough spot. Probably definitely dropping him out of the top 10 in the race here tonight. It was looking like a very solid 3rd. And the other thing we got to look at is we actually have a few more drivers hitting pit road here. Joseph Morales has just jumped in. I think James Ledford got the lucky dog. He's going to obviously get tires there. A smart call for him as well. So that's actually going to put Josh Laston up into the 6th position here now on this restart, which I believe will probably be restarting with about, 4 to go? Or, we're on 5 to go now, so probably be a 3 to go restart. But man, Steve, look at 3rd place. Henry Bennett somehow fought and clawed his way to get back into the top 3 here tonight, and now has a chance of trying to make some big moves late to see if he can grab a few more spots.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just going to be satisfied to finish 3rd, or how intense this is going to get between these 3 guys.
I mean, I say it's definitely not going to be. He's not going to roll over and let him go on by there. But I mean, if you're Nick DeGroot here, you're feeling good, so you have control of this restart. However, Steve, this is our first restart. I mean, these guys pitted on lap 85. We are now on lap 120. That is a long time on track, full speed. We don't know what the tire wear is going to be. Is there potential for tire spin on this restart? I think there's going to be a lot of nerves. I think the only driver that's going to be feeling very confident about his restart is going to be that 09 of Josh Laston, the first car to pit there under that yellow. Joseph Morales, James Ledford as well. They'll be feeling good. But I think these top 3, top 4 drivers, you might be a little nervous that you just hope that this thing's going to grip on you.
And that's some nice extra drama that you've added, Kyle.
That's what they pay me the big bucks for, Steve.
I know if this was the Cup cars that we would definitely be worrying about tire spin. I don't know how much you have to worry about it in these cars.
Yeah, I know it's a great question. So we'll see. I mean, I'll say hopefully for the sake of the leaders and for just no craziness at the very end, you hope that they're going to grip up nicely here. But I think if you're Nick DeGroot, though, I think you need to get on the throttle in the turns, not coming out of 4 on the straightaway, because that seems to be at the worst point of it. So we're going to see here, though, you see the pace car is in. Nick DeGroot running right up against the rim here, waiting to make the opportune time to drop the hammer, and he is down and away. And we've got our unofficial, green, white checker here, 2 to go. You see everybody trying to break the draft right off the bat. But a great start there for Nick DeGroot. And one of our resident IndyCar drivers, AJ Musselman, saying there's definitely wheel spin with these cars. So it looks like everybody's gotten away with it so far, so good. Henry Bennett, though, he is looking after that 64 of Andrew Wood. Jim Brooks actually just got around Jack Walls there on that restart. He's going to move up into 4th. Let's see if Josh Lassen, can he make any late moves here to get himself a few spots. He's already looking underneath that number 83 car entering turn number 3. Those fresh tires hoping to put him to good use. But up front, though, Nick DeGroot, he's going to take the white flag here. And we've got, a mile left to go. We'll see if he can hold off these guys for those last 2 turns.
I think that these guys needed a few more laps to be able to close in on each other. But Josh Laston definitely pulled off that patch. Oh my God, he hit the wall.
Oh, it was a big hit at the finish line. And unfortunately, it actually cost Josh a spot there at the end, allowed Jack Walls to get back by him there. So unfortunately, a heavy hit for him, but it's going to be Nick DeGroot 2 in a row to start off the season here, Steve, for that 89 car. But again, Andrew Wood, he's going to grab 3rd, and you know that's going to be a very, very relieved Henry Bennett to grab that 3rd spot. And I believe, actually, I say a great drive for Jim Brooks. He's going to finish in 4th, plus 12 for him. But even with the incident at the end, though, Josh Laston, highest climber for tonight, 16 spots gained up into that 6th spot. Jack Walls gaining 10 spots into the top 5, and Joseph Morales 11 spots into that into the 7th position. But in the end, though, it's going to be Nick DeGroot getting the win here tonight at Dover.
Yeah, that's a great job by Josh Laston for only his 2nd time in these cars and 2nd time in this league. I have a question about the commentator's curse, and hopefully you can answer this. Does it count if he hits the wall coming off the last turn on the last lap and loses a spot?
I think that one we can probably let that one slide, I feel like. But that being said, though, Nick's doing a really good job of doing a very difficult zones here at Dover because it's easy to hit the inside or the outside while doing so. He had a couple of close calls there during the burnout, but now he's got it down to a 2, it looks like, as he celebrates this win here tonight at Dover.
That's a good call on the burnouts, Kyle.
Yeah, so he's a very talented driver. But before we start talking to those very talented drivers, let's pull up our final results for tonight. It is going to be, like I said, Nick DeGroot getting the win here tonight in that number 89 machine. Andrew Wood going to finish in 2nd. Henry Bennett, again, amazing recovery to grab that 3rd position. Jim Brooks there in 4th. Jack Walls rounding out the top 5. And like you said, Josh Laston, I think, like you said, Steve, I think his 2nd race here with these IR18 cars finishes in that 6th position. Joseph Morales, James Ledford, remainder of those that were able to stay on the lead lap. Craig Forsyth, 9th. Jeff Heisong in 10th. Just didn't get the cautions they needed to get themselves back onto the lead lap. Then you got Yari Brupacher there as well, 1 down. And then unfortunately, not the Knights there looking for Charles Teed, Matt Wagner, 12th and 13th respectively. You know that's gonna be a sour one for him, unfortunately. Then you got Don Reedy there, 14th. Jim Herrick, Anders Arhus, Jimmy Drennan, and AJ Hobson. And the remainder of the finishers here tonight, John DiMatteo, again, hats off to him for sticking out to the end. Same thing goes for Michael Spell. He waited for a long repairs before he drove that car back out on track. And unfortunately, Carl Henderson, Eric Schaus, early exits for those guys tonight. And it looks like a start in park for Benjamin Combs, not able to make tonight's event. So with that, Steve, let's talk to some drivers. We're going to start things off with Mr. Recovery Drive in that 007 of Henry Bennett. All right, so we're going to grab Henry on over here. All right, so we're going to start things off here with Henry. And Henry, I apologize. It's obvious something happened to you before that final schedule stop. Not sure if you had some contact with the driver, maybe caught the outside wall a little bit, but we saw you fall back to about the 10th position. But you opted to limp this thing to the pit stop window, make it there, and then from there, I mean, it was just you were just lights out there, working yourself back up into about the sixth or so spot, then the top five, and then coming out of this thing with a third place finish. I would say that's got to feel like a pretty good recovery after everything you went through tonight.
Yeah, agree. Good recovery. The incident, I think it was Jim. I just watching it back on replay now, and I think Jimmy tapped the wall in dirty air. It came down a little later on the straight and just snagged my front wing, and that gave me front wing damage. And from then on in that stint, I was down on straight speed, and the car wouldn't turn. So I was down about half a second a lap. So yeah, dropped down to 10th. But yeah, I had to keep with the same pit strategy because I would have lost 2 laps if I pitted for a new wing at that point. So luckily didn't lose a huge amount of time really to the leaders. I think I was maybe 12, 15 seconds back from them. But luckily my pit stop was during my pit stop I managed to jump a bunch of guys and then fought with Jack and Jim after the pit stop. Got to 4th, which I was ecstatic about. But yeah, 3rd I was lucky to get 3rd. It was just bad luck for Matt with those lap cars. I saw that gaggle of lap cars up in front of me. And I knew that was trouble, and I was hoping I wouldn't catch them before the end of the race. But unfortunately, Matt got into trouble with those. So yeah, lucky to get 3rd.
Henry, early on in the race, I think you had dropped back to 3rd or 4th. And I was wondering if you were just kind of content with hanging out there. Do you feel like you could have gone up and taken the lead if you'd have wanted to? And what was it like trying to pass people?
Oh yeah, initially, I mean, obviously I was leading from pole, and I was aware and a little worried about burning a lot more fuel than everyone else. As we've seen in previous races, the first person to pit can get the short end of the stick when a caution comes out. And caution is more likely around green flag pit stops than any other time. So it's always a danger. So yeah, when I fell back, when Nick wanted to take the lead, and Andrew stayed out, I was like, yeah, fine, go for it, burn your fuel. I'll just save fuel behind. But yeah, unfortunately, it put me into it does put you in slight danger, as we saw with that contact with after Jimmy had his incident. Yeah, so Nick's strategy of going to the front was the right one. But yeah, later on, trying to come back through cars for position was really tough. I think it took maybe 20 laps to get by Jack. So yeah, it was really tough on slightly used tyres to pass people. But early in the stint with clean air, like Nick did, it was quite easy to pass early on. But after that, it was very tough.
So did the car start pushing? Because that's kind of what it looked like to us.
There was push, but you could use a lot of the in-car tools to get it to rotate. But then that would mean the rear would slide, and then the front would slide, and you get like a full drift on exit of 2 or 4, which is a disaster really, because you can't do anything about that once it starts. So yeah, you had to kind of anticipate that. But yeah, picking a slightly different line to get a bit more air on the nose helps. And yeah, you could make passes. You could catch people and make passes on used tires, but it was tough.
Yeah, we could tell we were watching that battle between you and Jack Walsh, and it definitely, we could see you were struggling to get by.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, usually on a track like this, you'd try and get a run on the high side in clean air if they're running the low side, and then do the undercut on exit. But the radius of the corners here is so sharp. I forget the term. But the radius is so sharp that the low line is just such a short distance that if you take the high line, then you lose so much distance, and you can't really get a run that's good enough off the corner to make an attempt at a pass. So that makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, saying that's something Steve and I were talking about as well. Is honestly just the difference that we're noting between last season and this season. This track, I say obviously the iRacing, the builds changed a little bit as well, but then also just I think the setup tweaks a little bit too, to try to make it a little bit more of a handful to drive. I mean, it seemed like it kind of went from you guys having a car on like slot cars on rails last season to these ones. You really had to kind of be a lot more aware and be just kind of more direct in how to make those passes and everything. Was that something that you kind of had to adjust to from last season to this season, just with even though it was the same track?
Oh, definitely. We didn't really want to repeat of last season because, I mean, in my position in pole, it would have been quite nice once I knew I had pole to have the same setup as last year, where I could have just hugged the bottom of the track and no one could have got past me. But yeah, it was a conscious decision not to have that kind of racing again. But it was really tough to get the right balance between the leader not being able to hug the bottom and cars behind still able to catch up and having enough grip to catch and pass cars ahead. Obviously, yeah, me and Matt worked quite a bit on getting just the right balance between downforce and track temperature. In the end, we almost have minimum downforce on the car now, but we dropped the track temp just a bit just to make sure the tires didn't go off too much.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a great combination for sure tonight. So yeah, so like we said, Henry, just awesome job. I say sticking with your strategy, like you said, and then just being able to work yourself back up into the top four there. And like I said, caught a break there to get yourself in third, but so you definitely had to work hard to get yourself in contention there. So yeah, just congrats on a very well earned, tough earned third place tonight here at Dover, man.
Thanks, Gal. Appreciate it.
Actually, I almost jumped the gun there, Henry. I'm sorry. I say we got to give you the floor here, sir. So I know you've got some things and shouts you got to give as well for that third spot.
Yeah, as usual, Paraslide Motorsports. Shout out to everyone at Area 51, the admins, Jim, Matt, all the drivers put on a really good race today, and yeah, you guys for broadcasting as well.
Congrats again, Harry. Look forward to seeing you next week, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Henry. Great run.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, so that means we got to switch over to our second place finisher. That is going to be the 64 of Andrew Wood. So let's pull Andrew on in here and have a word with him with his second place result. Started in fifth. It's like obviously inside line on the initial start. That seemed to be the place you wanted to be able to jump straight to third right off the get go there. But then from there, I mean, it was anything but an ordinary race here tonight. So I had to do a little bit of everything, fighting with Henry, fighting with Nick. And saying obviously, I think the big change in the race was the pit cycle. That last green flag pit stop. Say went in with the lead. Unfortunately, say Nick pitted one lap earlier, but then was able to. We're not sure. Maybe a great in lap, out lap. Maybe I'm not sure if maybe there's a bobble on your end. I guess take us through the green flag pit stop and what you had to deal with there to kind of keep that car in one piece, because we know how difficult it was under pit road.
Okay, so it sounds like you missed my pit out spin.
Yes,
we did.
I came out of the pit lane and I spun almost up onto the track, and Yari was the next car coming through, and he was kind of panicking over the radio.
Yeah, we did indeed miss that. So that explains the gap.
Maybe one of you guys will show the slow-mo replay of me leaving the pit lane during my interview here, because that'll be fun to watch. I'm self-deprecating a little bit.
I'll have to see if I can hunt that down. It's gonna be a tough one to find.
Yeah, but it was a tough call. Like the whole entire race I was just kind of winging it, to be honest. Like, I had very few laps around here. I had a feeling it was going to be kind of a one-line track. I didn't really feel too confident with my qualifying. I got lucky a bit on the start and just tried my best to see where I would fit in line. I had some challenging from behind, and I had to kind of work on teed up in front. The whole entire race was just kind of figuring out the strategy as I went. I really didn't have any sort of plan coming into it because I didn't really kind of know how I would be driving during the whole thing. So, it just I would just hope that whatever I worked out would work out for me. So,
and it worked out pretty well, other than that spin. There was one point in the race, like I think the first two cautions, everybody else pitted, or most of the field pitted the first one, and then the second one everybody pitted except one guy stayed out, and that was you. And there were enough laps at that point that Kyle and I were like, biting our fingernails off for you, wondering like, is this going to work out?
Yeah. According to my calcs, that there was not enough pit stops. Like, we'd all have to do the same amount of stops to get to the end. So part of me was wondering if I was given a gift saying, hey, you can lead now and be with the same amount of stops as everybody, or if I was saying, oh no, my tires are so bad that I'm going to be hounded on the next restart. So the first few laps of the restart were very hectic for me. Henry was all over me, but then Nick seemed like he wanted to come through. So just watching from behind, it seemed like there was a lot of dynamics going on behind me. So if I was in that mess, I would have been a lot more stressed out. But being out front, I was able to kind of take the line I wanted and just kind of see what happens. Nick had the better tires than me, so he eventually got that run down on me. And from there, I just said, okay, let's see if I can hang on these old tires while also trying to save some fuel. The next caution after that came out, though, I was 5 or 6 laps away from pitting under green. So if that would have happened, it would have been Kentucky all over again. I would have been down a lap and had to get a wave around or something like that.
Yep, that's what we were worried might happen, because when you have that many laps earlier than everyone else that you have to pit, then once you make that pit under green and you come back out, you're nervous the whole time until everybody else pits that there might be a yellow and you get trapped.
Yeah, so basically I was just kind of winging the whole thing, and luckily it worked out for me. It could have gone so wrong at the same time. I just felt it in my gut on that second caution not to pit, though. But seeing every single other car in the field go into the pit lane was a little bit disheartening. I'm like, wow, I made a huge mistake here, and I'm known for that kind of stuff. So it was risky, but it really seemed to work out for me. It could have gone the other way very easily, though.
Yeah, I'm glad it did work out. But yeah, I know that feeling. I've had that happen to me in races where, if I'm not the first, then maybe I'm 4th or 5th, and everybody behind me got fresh tires, and yeah, it's an awful feeling.
Yeah, you feel very lonely in those situations for sure. Yeah, we were, as I did hunt it down, we were able to find the spin there, Andrew. But that being said, though, to do what you did there and then be able to recover, only lose a handful of seconds. I mean, I think you came out about 5-6 seconds off of Nick after that, but then also not to have an unsafe pit exit. I mean, that's saying something. So I mean, so hats off to making the best of a bad situation there, because that could have been much worse. So saying, I'm sure, seat of the pants when you're having that happen, I'm sure there's a lot of emotions running through your head there.
Well, to be honest, I felt the spin coming. I was pushing it to get to pit out before Nick came by, because I knew he'd pit the lap before me and he'd have fresher tires. Didn't know what the traffic situation was, so I was really trying to hustle it, and I just hit that bump the wrong way.
Yeah, we saw. I could see the car bounce.
Yeah, I thought I had everything set properly, but as soon I was kind of predicting a little bit of a bump there. So as soon as I hit it, I immediately went into preservation mode. So I came up the track a teeny tiny bit, but I don't think it was bad enough for me to get that unsafe pit out. So, yeah, it's a bummer. At the end of the day, I think that Nick had me on pit out, because with that spin and getting back on track, I don't think I would have lost 7 seconds. I think it would probably have been like 4 or 5 seconds or so. So if everything had gone according to plan, I probably would have been exiting pit just as he was speeding by. So it would have been a nice battle into 3, but then the cold tires would have probably gotten me anyway. Yeah, so from there, it was just kind of like pound laps and do the same thing I was doing in the previous stint and try and run him down. And I was actually running him down pretty decently before the caution came out, but he probably would have had me at the end.
Yeah, Steve was definitely noticing the lap times were looking very good. Like you said, where you were definitely closing those down. But like I was saying, it's a tough one. I mean, you guys, I mean, when it's a top 3 of you and Nick and Henry, it's going to be a game of hundredths of a second, and a lot of, I think, also kind of gamesmanship too, where Nick's probably thinking, okay, let me save my tires and manage the gap I've got, and then if it gets close, then I'll kind of drop the hammer and go a little harder and all that. So you guys are all pretty wily open wheel racers, so you never can tell what's up your guys' sleeves when it comes crunch time.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to race these guys for sure. And I mean, like, I see different names running up front every week, and that's cool to see too, because it seems like people are really trying to get better, and they're trying to see what we're doing, maybe watching some replays and saying, "Hey, how are these guys so fast?" And I'm kind of lagging back a bit. And yeah, I mean, Dover's kind of a track that it's kind of a crapshoot. Like, you could be fast just by doing the same sort of thing, but inputs and line are everything here. And it's really cool to see the progression of some of these guys in this league. It's going to make it more competitive and more fun in the end.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. So, like you said, there's been definitely a lot of drivers stepping up their games this season, so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Say another great result, though, for you tonight. But that's being said, though, before we let you go, we got to give you the floor here. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that second place, tonight?
Yeah, big shout out to the guys that put this league on. Jim, Matt, good job, guys. Really good racing the last few times I've been around, and I'm happy to be a part of this league. Big shout out to you guys broadcasting. You guys take time out of your day to watch us and probably call a really great race. Can't wait to watch this later. Shout out to Henry for always helping me out and giving me some tips, but not enough tips to beat him. I have to get lucky to beat him a lot of the time. And shout out to my Team Talent guys, Precision Racing Esports, for support and such like that. And we'll see where we go from here. I'll be missing next week, so unfortunately you guys have to talk to someone else on the podium potentially next week.
Well, we'll save yours for the week after then.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Every week is indeterminate.
Well, that's a great run tonight, Andrew.
Yeah,
thanks a lot, Steve.
Yeah, congrats on a good run tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, Steve, that leaves us one last person to chat with, and that is going to be our race winner in that number 89 of Nick DeGroot. Let me see if I can get there we go. So I was trying to get my graphics working correctly. That was going to be awkward. All right, there we go. So we're going to pull in our race winner 2 for 2 in the season. That's going to be that number 89 of Nick DeGroot. And Nick, okay, what did this guy do on the pit road? Talk to Andrew. He's like, oh, you didn't see the pit road spin, huh? Did you see the pit road spin? What was your thoughts when you were able to kind of swing around that 64 car after those green flag pit stops?
I did see that. I was entering turn one and watched my relative to see if I was going to beat him out. And I think I was going to beat him out just enough. And then I see the smoke and I see him spinning there. It was funny because Yari goes to call out that there's an incident. And I very quickly, I'm like, he's on the apron. I was on the apron because one, he was on the apron. I wasn't lying. Also, I really didn't want to caution at that point because I knew I was going to have a bit of a lead. And I still had to fight for it at the end. We had that late yellow and gave us a little sprint, but it was nice to kind of be able to ride there for like 20 or so laps or whatever it was, because this track is so fast and so intense. And even in the lap traffic, I'm sure you guys saw there was a couple dodgy moments. It's a really intense track and earns its name, the Monster Mile, because that was wild.
Yeah, definitely. Tonight's setup was a challenge in some regards when you had dirty air that you had to deal with, and once the tires were, we could tell that a lot of people were having issues where it would get tight and they hit the wall. So tell us how it was for you.
Yeah, lucky for me, I was up front for most of that race, so I did not experience too much dirty air. But when I was kind of just running second to Andrew, I could not follow him close behind after a few laps. I had to really go up high and just kind of rip the top side, and that just I could not get to him. I could not build up any momentum to get to him after a few laps, and was kind of just sitting there trying to find the clean air, keep it out of the wall. So I can't imagine what it was like further in the pack, because even running second, it's like, all right, where's that clean air? I need it, because it got really, really tough if you got in somebody's turbulence. It just kind of shot you right up the track, and that wall comes up fast here, especially out of 2 and 4.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, 18-second laps. I see you're spot on there as well. With you're going to be coming through traffic very quickly. I say a lot of different strategies. Unfortunately, some drivers having mistakes and being on different tires and various damage incidents throughout the race as well. So maybe some people not quite up to pace. So yeah, there's definitely a lot going on there. I say, and of course, then that late yellow, of course, coming out. You knew you're going to have a restart at the end. how confident or nervous were you about the traction on those restarts? Because for me, I mean, I'm used to obviously the full bodied stock cars, and I'll say Dover is a track where it just eats up the tires and it loves to roast them on the restarts. Was that something you were worried about, or did you feel like with these cars it wasn't going to be as bad as it could be with some other vehicles?
Yeah, I actually was worried about it. And with about 2 to go before the restart, I went up top in turn 3 and 4 and did a couple mock restarts, just kind of making sure the tires didn't spin because I didn't want anything to surprise me. That was, what was it, almost 40 laps on those tires. And like you said, yeah, Dover just eats up tires. And I was wondering, am I going to have wheel spin here? Do I need to go hard? Am I able to go hard from the start? And I needed to know that before the restart because one of two things. If the tires were going to spin and I didn't know that, I'm wrecking and probably wrecking a bunch of other cars. Two, if they don't spin, but I am too careful, then I'm going to have Andrew and Henry on top of me there. And with it only being a 3-lap shootout, I knew getting a gap at the beginning was going to be everything to keep them from getting a big enough run to get alongside. So, yeah, it was a definite concern there for that final restart.
So what did you discover when you did your mock restarts?
That is all good. Full throttle, it's going to be fine. So that surprised me a little bit, but it was cool to know that I was able to do that because I needed to be able to go hard at the start there. It was really the only way I was going to get enough of a gap. So worked out. Thank you for the Firestone tires there. They were very good.
Yeah, so they heat cycled very well there, but I mean, it's obviously the way you want to start off the season. Get 2 wins to kick it off to get the season underway. Obviously, still lots of racing to go for sure, but I'm sure definitely things are feeling good. Like I was saying, two wins, and you've had like seconds of a gap. These guys are gonna have to step up their game and get those thousands of a finish again, like we've seen last season.
Yeah. I'm enjoying these bigger margins. It's allowing me to breathe a little bit coming across the line.
Probably saved you some medical appointments too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, just awesome job tonight, Nick. I say, obviously, like I said, great start to the season. We also got to give you a shout out as well. Dover's a very tough track to do burnouts at, but you're able to master those as well. Avoid the inside outside walls during the burnouts. So hats off there as well. I think I'll give you about a solid 8.5 out of 10 on that one there. But yeah, just awesome job tonight, man. And to say before we let you go, though, definitely want to give you the floor any thanks and shouts for that win tonight.
Yeah, always want to congratulate the rest of the podium there. Andrew and Henry, they had really good races themselves. It's a shame I wasn't able to battle it out with Andrew. Of course, I liked having the big gap, but it would have been much more entertaining of a race if he was right up there with me to see what we could have done. But yeah, congrats to them, and thank you to Factorback Motorsports, motorsport.com, coveymoore.com, Whiteman's Family Business, DeGroot Automotive, U-Haul, and Cowboy Ship, Blaze Pods, and everybody else that supports this team. It's really fun to get it back to Victory Lane.
Yes, I enjoy this one, sir. Well-earned win. We're going to go from one concrete track to another. There's going to be a new one for you guys at Nashville Super Speedway, so that'll be a fun little challenge for you guys. I think that one could be a very interesting race as well. So I'm sure I'll be having to put your focus straight to that one here pretty shortly. But for now, enjoy this win, sir.
Thank you, guys. I got to go see how the Red Sox are doing now.
All right, Steve, that is our race winner in that number 89 of Nick DeGroot. But yeah, it was kind of like we said. Nobody really got caught out by the cautions on falling at the wrong time. Like I said, the closest call was definitely Andrew Wood. Sounds like he only had a few laps left before he was going to have to make a green flag pit stop before that yellow came out. But he said he had a gut feeling and he trusted it, and it worked out to his favor. But then, like I said, we did get that set of green flag pit stops in. Unfortunately for Andrew, definitely did affect his outcome potentially a little bit with the challenge for Nick at the end. But overall, though, a very, very challenging but very competitive race here tonight at Dover.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure that the guys in second and third would wish that they'd had a few more laps to pull up and try and gain some spots there. But it's a great finish by all three guys on the podium. Great runs tonight. And you could tell a true Red Sox fan by how quickly he skedaddled out of here before I could even say that was a great win, Nick.
Yeah, he got the job done. Now it's like, okay, or how are my guys doing?
So it was an entertaining race. There was a lot of guys that showed some speed not everybody was able to figure out how to save their tires or how to handle the dirty air tonight. And unfortunately, that caused some incidents with people hitting the wall, and which is how we ended up with only 7 or 8 cars on the lead lap at the end. But good job for everybody. Almost the entire field stuck it out and enjoyed it. It was a fun race to watch.
Yeah, it definitely was an exciting one here tonight. And saying we're going to go from one concrete track to another. So we're going to be switching it over to Nashville Super Speedway. So relatively new to iRacing, but I think that could be a very intriguing track. To say a little bigger than here, and I think we'll see a little bit more of a groove open up there as well. So I think these drivers are going to really have to kind of get some laps in to be ready for this one next week, because I think that's going to be a very difficult one as well. Just, I think, very similar to tonight.
Yeah, Nashville, and I mean it's a different kind of tricky configuration at that track. I'm looking forward to seeing how the cars drive there, and hopefully I can get on early enough to put in enough laps to give you an idea what's going on there next week.
That sounds like a plan. So, Steve, as always, sir, it's a pleasure being able to enjoy these races with you. And everybody else that's watching, thank you so much for supporting us here at Green White Checker TV. We'll be back on Thursday for the Super Speedway Truck Series. And then, of course, as we mentioned, partnering up as well with MaxSpeed TV. They'll be broadcasting Sunday and Monday. Sunday with the Xfinity Super Speedway, and then Monday with the Next Gen. So definitely check those out as well. However, for us, hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday evening. We'll catch you back on Thursday. And until then, hope you have a wonderful evening and have a good night.
Night, everyone.